the other piece of this, as the Lakers kind of are building what their next steps are, one of the questions was in regards to LeBron. And the LeBron question was, what are his options? And I put on here, and I'm actually kind of taking a piece of this um, that's towards the end of the article, and it came from Bobby Marks. Does the chance of a fifth championship outweigh another big payday? And he's talking about LeBron. LeBron will have earned $584 million on the court after his contract with the Lakers expires, which then begs that question, what's more important to him? A fifth championship, competing for a fifth championship, or another big payday? Like I said in the beginning, I think for LeBron, in a perfect world, obviously he gets both. He can stay in LA. He could stay with the Lakers. He could try to compete for a championship. That's in a perfect world. And I don't know if that perfect world is going to exist a year from now or less than a year from now. $584 million on the court. That's not counting all his endorsements. Think of all the endorsements that he has. What is he doing right now? I think he was doing some Amazon commercials. His deal with Nike, Beats. Obviously, he's been with Beats for a long time. You go down the list. I mean, there's God knows how many different partnerships that LeBron has, and LeBron's been good for business, and he's earned every dime of that. It goes through some of the scenarios of, which is, I think, kind of interesting in its own right. It goes through some of the scenarios as well, that the unlikely scenario that James did ask out, as in asking for a trade, not a lot of teams can bring him in. The Cavs can't bring him in, unless it's a buyout. The Mavericks are also they're below the second apron, but would have to trade nearly half of their roster to acquire LeBron. The Golden State Warriors are not pressed against the apron, but are top heavy in contracts, leaving Butler as the sole viable trade candidate. Why would the Lakers do that? The Knicks do have $53.1 million salary of Towns, but that would require the Lakers to inherit the $118 million owed to the center after next season. That would mean that the Lakers are basically saying, hey, this is our future. Our future is going to be Karl-Anthony Towns and Luka Doncic. I think the Lakers have bigger dreams than Karl-Anthony Towns, and that's not even a knock on obviously on Karl-Anthony Towns. The only real scenario, and I think this is why this is the question that makes the most sense for LeBron, is there probably is going to come a point next summer where he's going to have to make the decision of, do I want to get paid or do I want to compete for a fifth championship? Should I take less money to try to compete for a championship with the Lakers? Or do I just say, you know what, I'm going to take a lot less money and it's not going to be with the Lakers. There's other rosters out there that make more sense. That's going to be the big question. So what's next for the Lakers? You got the rebuilding around Luka. There's a piece of this on Austin Reeves that I'll get to a little bit later in the show. I don't want to do it just yet. And then there's the big question about LeBron. What will be his priority? Me personally, I'd love to see, certainly want to see LeBron compete for another championship. Of course, if it's with the Lakers, you're killing two birds with one stone. I know that's what the Lakers hope that they could accomplish as well. The question is just going to be for Bron. I'm worth $100 million a year. Why am I going to make pennies on the dollar? That's a fair question for him to ask. I don't think anybody has that answer. There is one piece of this that I don't like, that I do think is kind of looming in the background. When James does become a free agent next summer, there will be no shortage of teams waiting for him. The crosstown Clippers would have enough money to sign him outright and pair him with Kawhi Leonard. And then, of course, they go into their then championship caliber teams, Cleveland, New York, and Dallas, that only have the veterans minimum exception to offer in free agency. The Warriors would have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception offer as well. So the question is going to be, will he be chasing that championship, or does he think he can accomplish that goal here, or is he just trying to get paid? I got actually a feeling by the time we get to next year, there's a little bit of me that feels like I think he will be chasing a little bit. Potentially it's going to be just as important for him to go try to compete for championship number 5. But I think a big question of that's also going to be that, can the Lakers put themselves in a position where he can do it here? All right, I want to talk about one of our new sponsors, BetterHelp. Very, very happy to have them as a partner of Hoops Talk and the Sliwa Show. I know in our everyday lives, we are all going through something. For me, anxiety. I always have situations or predicaments where I'm overthinking things. I'm thinking things that are maybe work related, but a lot of times it's more personal related. Things that have nothing to do with my day-to-day job, just your everyday living life, things that come up cause a lot of anxiety. And what do you do with it? Do you just kind of sit there and dwell in it? Do you get into your own head? Well, I usually do that. I actually was the one that tried initiating having a partnership with BetterHelp because I believe in therapy. I believe that talking to a professional and talking to somebody can actually genuinely help you. And it's something that's important for everybody. I come from a background where, hey, I don't know, push that down, or you know what? No, man up and take care of it. Well, there's other ways to cope with it. There's other ways to deal with it. And certainly it is to work with somebody at BetterHelp. Let me tell you guys some of the features that comes with BetterHelp. The majority of BetterHelp members seek support for anxiety, and 69% of members report improved anxiety symptoms after 6 weeks of therapy on BetterHelp. It's very, very easy to start. Just fill out a questionnaire and you'll match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. I started mine, BetterHelp now. It's been a little bit over a week now. There's group sessions there that you can be a part of. I did get matched up after I took the questionnaire, and it was perfect for me because they have a good idea of, okay, what's going on in my life? Why do I have anxiety? And they'll know exactly how to tackle. If you don't like the therapist that you have, no problem. No extra cost. You can switch it at any time. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Let my sponsor, BetterHelp, help you rule your anxiety so it doesn't rule you. Click betterhelp.com/Sliwa for a discount on your first month of therapy. Again, betterhelp.com/Sliwa for a discount on your first month of therapy. I really appreciate you guys listening to this partnership. I think it's very, very important, and hopefully it can help you as well. BetterHelp makes therapy simple with 10% off your first month to help you get started. betterhelp.com/Sliwa.
Until LeBron sits down and talks and says what's on his mind and all that stuff, I don't pay too much attention to the reports. And when we were all together at DeAndre Ayton's press conference, I talked to a couple of guys that were there. I won't use their names, but we were all like, listen, he's gonna be a Laker. He's a Laker. Yeah, if he didn't want to be a Laker, he would have opted out and gone somewhere. He's had opportunities. He has set up he's been a genius with the way he set up his business side of things, and he's been genius the way he set up his contracts, and he always has. He's got the out when he wants to get out, and he's been able to be a free agent when he wants to be a free agent, and he opts in when he wants to opt in. So for me, until he tells us and he changes that, and I agree with you, next year is a different thing. Like, I truly believe this, and I'm not in LeBron's camp. I don't know, but I just watched it for a few years, and I remember after that 4-0 loss to
Denver.
Denver. Was it 5-0? It was the 5-0. It was the one we lost in 5. So it was after the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
I truly, or no, maybe it was Western Conference Finals. So I remember being in the arena, Allen. So I think it was Game 4. We got to the Western Conference Finals. Was that 23? 22?
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And
3 playoffs ago, but
3 playoffs, but 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I remember leaving that day. I actually remember calling Allie from the car, and I remember thinking for the first time, like, man, he might walk away. I don't think he does. I think he's in the moment. But I remember with Kobe and other greats in other sports, when you get to the end of a season and you've drained your tank and you've done everything you can do, you are up in age, and you know what it takes to get yourself ready mentally and physically to go through another year. I think he has to take his foot off. I think he's got to take a step back, and he's got to think about really what he wants to do. I feel like he plays this year, and at the end of this year, he's got to decide: can I, at 42, going into my 42nd year, my 24th season, because maybe he does want to get to 24 seasons. Do I want to do this mentally? Because physically, he's still able to do it, Allen, right? But like Kobe, I don't ever see him wanting to take a role where, like, he's coming off the bench or he's not a focal point. It's not who LeBron is. It's not who MJ was, not who Kobe, ever the greats that ever played. So for me, like, I really, truly, and I know this sounds cliche, but 1 year at a time for LeBron. And I think this year he's in a Laker uniform, and he's got a top 5 player with him. And that's got to excite you.
So but there's a lot of good angles to that. I think the part of he can play, and I'm with you on this as well. I think physically, if you said, let's see, he'll be in his 23rd year this year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy to say in his 26th season in the NBA, LeBron is still putting up 10, 4, and 4. I
He
don't think that
could, but
I don't, and but I agree with you that I think physically he can, but I
yeah,
think there's probably going to be like, well, why am I still doing this? Like, what's the point of doing this?
that's how I feel too.
Mhm.
That's just my opinion. Nothing to do with, I don't know how LeBron feels. That is absolutely my opinion from watching him all these years.
The question, and I think it's the right way to put it, of kind of 1 year at a time. When
Yeah.
you're somebody that's been in the league for this long, I don't
Yeah.
think you can look at anything other than 1 year at a time.
How can you?
Hypothetically speaking, which I don't think this is going to happen, but
Yeah.
let's just say in his 23rd year, there was a significant decline in his game. Let's just say that happened. And you would be like, all
Yeah.
right, well, I thought that was going to happen a couple of years ago. Like, how does that change his mindset of what do I want to do moving forward?
Changes it big time.
What if he has a very similar season as he did the year before? Does that tell him like, all right, well, I'm definitely playing at least one more
Yeah.
year? I think kind of how it plays out will probably take care of itself. I think his course of action might be more based on how the actual year
Yeah.
goes.
And I'm not naive enough to think that he doesn't have a plan. I feel like his trusted circle of people, which is very few, right? His family and a couple others. I'm sure they have a road they would like to follow and a plan that they would like to follow that they keep close to the vest on when to announce I'm retiring, when this will be my last year. Actually, I think I can play X amount of years. So I'm with you. Like LeBron in year 26 could absolutely average 12, 7, and 7. It's not even a question in my mind. It's just who he is. He's gifted physically, and he could play another few years. I just don't know if you're going to want to. I truly feel that way. I feel like it's so taxing on the season. I do feel like Bronny, having Bronny there, having that, uh, that experience with your kid is pretty special, pretty unique. I think
Mm,
that reinvigorated him for sure. I think that was important to him. We all know the way it worked out was great. So I'm sure there's a part of him that loved that. But yeah, it'll be super interesting to see. I do feel like though, because you hit on something, when you're, and this goes for younger kids too, man. If you're in high school playing, you're in college, like I think it's really hard to have a run at something or invest in something when you're 1 foot out or you're thinking about the next thing. If you're not fully in the moment,
sure.
and excuse me, I keep doing that, and you're not present at what's going on, then you're never going to be at your best.
Hmm.
And I think the great ones, the greatest of all time, those kind of people, the guys that are in the GOAT conversations, the guys that are on the Rushmores, the super, super elite superstars of this league understand that. And you've seen it before, guys that aren't as invested in that team, or maybe when they're younger, thinking about what their next move is, they're never at their best. And I think LeBron understands that as well as anyone. So when he goes into a season, LeBron is ready to attack that season, and he's going to attack it how he knows how to. He's not going in going, oh, I'm going to take a step back and
Sure.
survey. Like he's going in going, I want to win, and here's how we're going to win. That's how I feel about LeBron.